Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, for those of you in a no contact situation, will the person on your mind be reaching out, or have you reached the end of the road with one another? There are two groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Apatite, and group 2 is the Lepidolite. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe both of the groups that you're drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. We chose the Apatite. So I'm just going to be using oracle cards for this reading, and let's dive right into that question. The person on your mind that you find yourself in a no contact situation with, do they plan on reaching out, or have you reached the end of the road with one another in your connection? Okay, so we have Snake Spirit, time to heal. Beaver Spirit, lay a solid foundation. Swan Spirit, time for a deep dive. Turkey Spirit, give with gratitude and grace. Wolf Spirit, turn knowledge into wisdom. And Moth Spirit, surrender now. So there are a lot of energies here as far as healing and transformation that are kind of in the recipe of what's brewing between you and your person at this particular point in time. They may be in the process of doing a deep dive, or maybe have been forced into that through circumstances in their world, in their reality. Maybe things kind of like Three of Pentacles energy with this Beaver Spirit right here that have collapsed or become more difficult for them in terms of abundance, interpersonal relationships, their relationship with themselves, almost like a domino effect that may have ensued from the point when the two of you parted ways, maybe based on some triggering or some lower vibrational activities or shadows which sort of took the wheel, got in the driver's seat, and led this person away from the harmony and balance between the two of you. And there's been some kind of ripple effect from that, some kind of repercussion where it feels like they are in the process of rebuilding a more solid foundation within themselves, exploring the foundation of their beliefs about life and love, the connection itself, you, their role in the situation in the past, working toward abundance, kind of building their self-esteem through creating more stability or something that is more in alignment with kind of who they are at this point in their life in terms of their material reality. So there can be shifts and changes as far as like work and career are concerned, their living situation, again, kind of this essence of the relationship they have with themselves being a primary factor, starting to really understand, or really being illustrated to them perhaps in painful ways, how they have been their own worst enemy up to this point in time. The block and the wedge toward deeper abundance in this lifetime, it feels they're starting to recognize that there are pathways or tendrils from that essence which lead them very deeply within. So it feels to be something that through a process of kind of working on their own internal stuff, cleaning up their side of the street, if you will, that they are moving into this place of a deeper and deeper recognition of being able to hear and truly answer the call of their soul, which is compelling them towards you in the interest of kind of bringing forth some sort of healing and transformation in this situation. This can be an apology that is owed. For some, it's just going to be the sense of understanding that the way they left things between the two of you after everything that you've shared, it could have been handled differently. It was unfair to you. A lot of lingering questions, a lot of silence. Some of you may have been blocked or ghosted by this person. And there's an essence here of them really recognizing and starting to understand the deeper they're coming to a place of sort of needing to heal themselves and not really having any option in that capacity. It feels like for a lot of people, tower moments may have occurred where they are left with no choice but to kind of face themselves, look in the mirror, and start to do that cleanup work for themselves and in their life. And it feels that this is kind of equipping them or bringing them closer to the reality of other areas in their life where they are needing to make amends, most specifically this connection with you. This idea of the moth energy, they are drawn to you, they are magnetized and compelled forward, not wanting to just leave this situation as it has been left for however long you've been in separation from one another. But there's a sense of almost kind of fearfulness with this that may have been a trigger in the past, some kind of emotional wounding, like an avoidant attachment style, for example, where the nature and intensity of what they were feeling for you in the past could have been very daunting, very intimidating, made them feel very out of control. And instead of kind of looking at this as an opportunity to strengthen and build a cooperative bond between the two of you, leaning into that place of fear and moving forth in the direction that they are being compelled towards you anyway, it feels like they chose the path of fear, moving away from the connection, self-sabotaging in the situation, just whatever those details look like for you. And that was that kind of first domino in the domino effect of things which have started to fall apart in their world and in their reality. So with that is still, and this can also be compounded based on other things they're dealing with, heavy and difficult things, and trying to sort of keep a level head, keep both feet on the ground, pick up the pieces of their life in any way that that's applicable. There's a draw towards you, but also a sense of kind of fear and intimidation that is a gauntlet that they must move through. It's a Goliath that they have to deal with at this point in time. I feel very drawn to this person. Actions that I've taken in the past to move in the opposite direction have yielded unsatisfactory results. I still feel that spark. I still feel that compulsion, and I am still entirely intimidated by these energies, by the prospect of what this essence is stirring within me, what we can become to one another. So there's a sense of almost kind of staring into the flames of this situation, or, watching you energetically, maybe even sort of watching on social media, kind of lurking around in the shadows with this sense of longing and yearning to repair or build some kind of togetherness or patch up the situation. And yet there is still this kind of looming essence and factor of a lot of fear, which must be sort of conquered within them, a primal fear of a version of them that necessarily dissolves in the face of harmony, in the face of the connection, so that a different version of them rises in love with you through kind of the rebuilding or the forging of bonds between you. So it's a sense of almost kind of being pulled in your direction, and at the same point in time being very much sort of tethered to a lot of narratives or polarities of fear that may be manifesting in other areas of their life. And it feels to be something where the more they're kind of building that confidence, kind of moving from a 3 of Pentacles, reestablishing a foundation for themselves or strengthening that in some manner, towards like a 10 of Pentacles, where they have essentially created their heaven on earth for themselves, or they're actively working towards that. They're okay, feeling good about where they're at in their life, where they've achieved some degree of stability, that this might be something that is an empowering factor, kind of success for themselves relative to however that applies for them in the material world, strengthens and empowers them to face that unknown, face that fear of the intensity of maybe an apology that's owed, a difficult conversation which needs to be had, or just a level of intimidation about the nature and intensity of what they feel for you, that it's almost like as they continue to pick up the pieces of their world and their reality, transform from sort of like the lowest of the lows to a place where they're feeling good and they're kind of stars on the rise. Their narrative arc is on the upward swing, the upward trajectory. It feels like this is really going to be something that kind of opens the door or ushers in sort of this actualization of what feels to be a craving or a need, almost like their soul crying out for you from a distance, to at least wrap up this situation between the two of you with an attempt to provide that vindication, that apology, that acknowledgement. It feels like they're kind of looking at the situation from a very practical sense, maybe due to other practical matters that's requiring their focus. So they're not looking at this with kind of a starry-eyed gaze and, I'll come back in with an apology or open those lines of communication and everything will be better again. It almost feels like they may be leading towards you, or at this point in time are very much centered around the mindset of, I know I need to make this situation right. I have this intention to move towards this person to at least, provide some degree of healing, some degree of clarity, some degree of closure to kind of clean up the messiness that has been left between the two of us. But it feels like they're not at this point getting too far ahead of themselves in terms of what is possible in this situation. If you would even entertain having them back in your world, in your reality emotionally, and understanding that trust may be something that's very tenuous to rebuild, depending on how long you've been at a distance or whatever those circumstances were that led to that disconnect. There's a sense here of almost them recognizing that it's going to take a lot of consistency and action and follow through on their part that might have been lacking before to truly create reconciliation, or like a fresh cycle that breaks free from patterns you've experienced in the past. And so they're highly invested at this point in time of almost birthing a better version of themselves. And then it feels like when there's a little more stability achieved with that, then their mind might open up to more of the possibilities of, I know I need to clean this situation up. I know I need to give this person some clarity and closure, but I also have these deep and compelling feelings. And so I will infuse that energy of, if you are willing to give this another try, if you'll give me another chance, if I can earn back your trust, if we can course correct from the place we find ourselves in an alternate direction, then there's still love in my heart for you. There's still an interest in seeing this situation through to kind of better results, emotionally speaking, and in a very practical sense for the two of you. So let's get a few more oracle cards to get a little more clarification about this, and then I'll get into some message cards from this person's higher self. So we have potential, security, and pleasure. So this energy of pleasure is definitely speaking about you and this connection representing some kind of light in the darkness. It's a beacon of hope. It's a point that they are striving toward or reaching toward. But at this point in time, there's almost a fragility or a vulnerableness with this. And again, that compounds almost, it feels like, other challenges that they may be going through in their life at this point in time to clean up their act, clean up their life, create some kind of new stability, course correct in a whole new direction from the person that you have known previously or the way in which they were living their life up to this point in time. That there's almost like a timidness, not really sure what they can offer you in terms of practical stability at this point in time. Still being very much a work in progress. A lot of like internal sort of makeover energy here that it feels like is happening to the essential structures, the core reality of how they identify with themselves, the life they are living in a very just mundane sense, a lot that is under scrutiny at this point in time, a lot that is needing to be revised, or that they've kind of been brought to their knees and are then tasked to kind of rebuild something out of the ashes of their life, out of kind of what has fallen apart, what hasn't worked, what was never kind of properly in alignment with the authenticity of who they are. So there's this desire for some kind of forward momentum in this situation, which again is kind of this element of the more they move through or around or beyond these kind of challenges is sort of like dark night of the soul. It's beginning again from scratch, kind of the primordial creative void that may have been created or that they are being urged or called to create within themselves and within their world and their reality. This is something that on the other side of kind of getting to know themselves again, establishing something more solid, more stable, more reliable, more practical, so they actually have something to present to you rather than just, hey, I'm a work in progress, I'm trying to deal with this chaos in my life and reshape it into something else, but will you take me back, kind of with not a whole lot to deliver upon promises being made. It feels like they're taking the opposite sort of approach in this situation, and understanding they must kind of do for themselves first, build something for themselves first, in order to be able to have something to present to you which is meaningful, which can crack open those doors of love, which can actually be, prosperous and measurable, and sort of add to the beneficial nature of resuming contact with one another, trying to sort of build and grow beyond whatever has happened in the past. But they may be feeling very fragile emotionally. They may be feeling very vulnerable, very frightened about their circumstances, very uncertain what's happening one day to the next, or long-term goals and plans, a vision or a view they had of themselves and their world and their reality, all of that coming into question at this point in time, where it's almost they don't have much to give emotionally, because it feels like there's so much that has been taken from them emotionally, or that they're being almost purged or cleansed of at this point in time, that has sort of these loops and these tie-ins to their practical reality, that until the dust settles, until they sort of pick up these pieces and reshape themselves and kind of that internal and external landscape into something different, then it's almost like they're not getting their hopes up that the version of them as they are at this point in time, this kind of work in progress, there's a sense of like, this isn't good enough for what you are worthy of, what you bring to the table versus kind of where I'm at now in my life and in my reality. There's a difference there. There's a disparity. It doesn't add up. If I were to come towards you at this point, you would be hoisting me up out of this kind of place of darkness, or anchoring or acting as kind of a crutch at a time when it feels like they know almost that they need to kind of go through this process on their own. They don't want to bring you a degree of chaos to kind of make the matters worse, make the situation worse. So it feels like something where it's almost remaining at a distance, remaining in silence, kind of watching from the shadows, looking at you as this kind of light and this beacon and this inspiration that maybe, perhaps, if they see this phase or chapter of sort of redevelopment or reimagining of their life through to completion, that might open the doors of possibility and potential to sort of transcend beyond the limits between the two of you. At the very least, it gives them the opportunity to present some kind of apology, some kind of an explanation, even if you don't respond, even if it doesn't, work out in kind of forward momentum, at least it sort of alleviates something for them emotionally and demonstrates or displays to you, hey, I've grown beyond this situation. This pain and suffering between us has not all been for nothing. I've done this work within. This is kind of the version of me that has emerged from this chrysalis or this cocoon of transformation, and very much set, it feels like, on at some point in time, at the minimum providing that. But then kind of the stronger that they get, the more that they move through this process of kind of reimagining or rebuilding of their world and their reality, it brings them closer to that energy of sort of not feeling so vulnerable or exposed or fearful in a general sense about their life, and also more specifically about kind of the nature and intensity of their feelings for you, what's happened in the past and what they would like to happen in the future. As they build that sense of personal strength, it feels like something which empowers them in the heart space, all this green kind of like heart chakra energy right here, that will make it almost impossible or very difficult for them to continue to deny, or to deny at the point where it feels like they plan on bringing forth some sort of apology, the very real and persistent kind of fact that there is still love here, there are still feelings here, there are still emotions here, that if the stars are aligned at the time and manner in which they come forth out of hiding, if you are, receptive to them, if it's something where those initial conversations, or that message that they send, if they receive a favorable response, there's the essence of they're not placing limits in terms of the potential of what could exist between the two of you, but they're also kind of expecting the worst, it feels like, at this particular point in time. So this may be something where, if you've given ultimatums, or depending on the nature of kind of what has happened since the two of you have parted ways, they've had some sort of a humbling, some kind of a reckoning, something that has really brought forth to them, it feels like, on a profound level, the nature of consequences of choices that have been made impulsively, or very fear-based paradigms, timelines that they've aligned themselves with, and how this has kind of put them at a distance from true and lasting fulfillment and stability. And so it feels to be something that as they continue to work through that process, like every step that they take to sort of build beyond this point of needing to start over in some capacity for them, brings them closer to the ability to kind of bring forth joy into the situation, be kind of the harbinger of positive news, exciting change and development, rather than kind of adding or contributing to the layers of disappointment that have been a theme for the two of you in the past. So in terms of, just kind of consolidating this into more of a short answer, although if you've been watching my readings for a while, you know that when I channel, I get really verbose with everything. So nothing is ever like a short reading with me. But it's an essence of sort of, they have this longer term intention to try to make matters right between the two of you. But currently they're in the process of kind of creating some sense of stability or rightness within themselves. So it may be almost like a reimagined or a transformed version of them, either in terms of what they're presenting or a lot of changes that have taken place on a very practical and real level in their life, to where it might almost be like meeting a new person again, or a level of integrity and dependability and follow through that was sort of lacking in them in the past, that they're in the process of cultivating and kind of developing within them, which is sort of the best foot forward that it feels like they will utilize to walk towards you, with the intention of at the very least kind of providing some sort of explanation, some degree of closure, but also kind of with this essence, this tinge, this sort of hope or secret desire of, I hope that it's not the end. I hope that we can kind of build beyond this, but I understand that there's a need to sort of smooth out the past or create some kind of clean slate between the two of us before we can practically sort of explore where we can build and develop with one another beyond that point. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self right now. And they say, I still carry that spark for you. So this is that energy of the moth to the flame, very much attracted to you, compelled by you, drawn towards you. You're a light in the darkness at this point in time. If they're watching on social media, they may find and feel a lot of solace just sort of being in your energy. It feels also, and I'm hearing healthy competition, so there may be a little bit of jealousy going on. Either you have other people in your life that you're talking to, and this person is sort of seeing that and recognizing you've taken steps to sort of move beyond whatever has happened in this situation. You've essentially created closure for yourself and are expanding yourself out into new horizons, or they're sensing that energetically from you. There's been some sort of shift. There's been some sort of up leveling to where the future looks very bright for you, in terms of like a contrast to where they may be sitting in a lot of personal or situational darkness at present. And so it feels to be something that there's a degree of sort of this jealousy or this yearning or this desire to resume kind of a role, a more active role in your life. It's operating as a fuel or a motivation that is consequently kind of helping them at times, or they may feel very oppressed by their situation, very just, they're looking at the mountain and they have so far to climb, and they don't have the proper tools, they don't know what they're doing, they're kind of feeling their way around in the dark in this process of sort of self-discovery and reinventing themselves in a variety of ways, that energetically you are this pulse or this push that sort of compels them beyond a defeatist attitude. You encourage and help them, it feels like, in ways that you don't even understand, to just continue to move forward, continue with this process, continue to reach very deeply within, and to seek and find that best version of themselves that would be equipped to bring forth that long overdue apology, that would move towards you in a humbleness to say, I know I need to make matters right. I'm not expecting you to take me back in and just forget that nothing has ever happened, and yet I'm presenting myself to you wholeheartedly with the intention to try. They're very much trying to sort of pivot themselves up to a resonant frequency with you, or even some changes that you've made that you may be very vocal or public about, like on social media, and they're seeing that, and it's inspiring them a lot to continue along this process that they've either chosen to embark upon or have been kind of thrust into, to make some necessary changes for themselves in order to kind of follow that trajectory that draws them back in your direction. They also say, I know I broke your heart. So there's a recognition on their part that they need to make matters right between the two of you. At the very least, send some kind of a message that acknowledges their role of what happened in the past. The fact that you didn't deserve to be treated like this, that they see the light now. The grass wasn't greener on the other side. They took you for granted. You were the best thing that ever happened to them. If they could turn back time, they would do things differently. Any number of sort of phrases, or some will get, it feels like very in depth with what they have to say. For some people, it's almost like expect, a multi-paragraph message from this person when they kind of come through this phase of rebuilding or picking up the pieces of themselves or strengthening something within kind of their self-esteem as tied into kind of their real world material circumstances. They've thought a lot about this. They're sitting a lot with this situation. It's on this list of things that I need to make right in my life. And so it feels like something that even if you've created that peace, you've created that vindication for yourself, this person recognizes and acknowledges that it's unfair that you've had to do this on your own. It's unfair that circumstances have kind of spiraled out of control in this way, precisely because they've been confronted with some sort of limit or hindrance which emanated from within that created static or dissonance in this situation. So part of that process of kind of up-leveling, healing, maturing, and growing for them is the recognition of the understanding of, like, I need to make amends with this person. I need to at least attempt, to infuse more of like a healthy or healing or loving vibration or energies or words or the essence or my kind of efforts and presence or whatever that sort of looks like, to counterbalance and counteract all the vibrations and the residue of fear that was sort of left in this situation when the two of you parted ways. They also say my life is upside down right now. So there's a confirmation of a lot of tower moments that have happened, a lot of things that may have been very humbling for this person, kind of force them inside to do that introspection, to finally look in the mirror. And it feels like in this process, they've self-identified a lot about them that they had been avoiding, had been kind of unaware of, deeper rooted patterns and trends within that have kind of led to blocks upon multiple areas of their life, sort of with the origin point within themselves. And it also feels to be something that they're not quite ready to bring forth something to you because they're still in the process of kind of sifting through the rubble of their reality and trying to make something out of the situation, trying to make lemonade out of lemons that their life has kind of turned into, or maybe they're recognizing for some that it always kind of has been. And that this connection, this situation, you were almost like a saving grace or an opportunity for them to experience something different than kind of the self-perpetuating cycles that they found themselves in, which can really reinforce that idea of when the two of you parted ways, it almost sort of catalyzed or initiated the first domino in this whole kind of row, this whole series of things where it feels like illusions were torn down, running that kind of led to a place of no longer being able to run from oneself or the reality of the nature of kind of choices made in the past and consequences, the life that they had constructed and were living for themselves on a daily basis versus kind of how that aligns with some kind of spark or recognition within that had been awakened through the connection, or even had kind of been brought to the forefront in the aftermath of a decision not to continue to participate and, grow with you romantically in the past. They also say you deserve more. I don't feel good enough. So again, this confirmation of, at least for the time being, at the time you're watching this reading, this person is involved in a deep process, a multi-layer, multi-level process of kind of figuring out what their next moves are in their life in general, picking up the pieces, cleaning up their world, cleaning up their lifestyle, maybe even cleaning up interpersonal relationships, spending a lot of time alone, vetting out everybody in their life. influences that they had taken for granted in the past that may have really reinforced almost a broken or a watered down version of this person. They may be experiencing a lot of static as well in their interpersonal relationships as they're breaking free from patterns and kind of reaching for that vibration of healing for themselves. That may come across as very threatening to people in their life that sort of benefited from a version of them that didn't expect very much for themselves or was willing to settle for less than they deserved, or had created something that sort of resonated on those lower vibrational planes and wasn't really a life that was in alignment with what fulfills their needs at a soul level. So as they're making these changes, it feels like no area of their life has been untouched at this point in time through whatever it is that's going on. So it's not for a lack of concern or care or desire that there may be continued silence for the time being between the two of you, but it's almost this essence of, I need to get myself together before I can bring something to this connection that is meaningful, that can repair what was broken between us. And they also say, I'm not ready to talk. So again, conversation that they want to have, words that want to be spoken. For some, it's already kind of like an email that's been drafted and is just sort of sitting there waiting for this right time when they're feeling more stable. They're feeling that their life's together. Maybe they're in the process of creating a new routine for themselves, reorganizing, restructuring things, until that self-esteem kind of is elevated in some way that is commiserate with sort of what's happening in their material reality. It feels like they'll continue to keep this personal truth within, but it feels like for a lot they are watching you from afar, or even just tapping into your energy, kind of nostalgia and the sense of longing, understanding that this is a loose end in their life, this connection with you, and that they don't just want to leave things as they have been, but there is this desire to kind of see their process of personal transformation through to a place where they're feeling more stable. And then there is this intention of, I'm not going to stay silent forever, but now is just not the time to have that conversation, because what I bring to the table at present, you're worthy of so much more. I'm still a work in progress, and so I need to kind of continue to work on fixing and building something within and for me before I'm able to bring forth something to you where we can explore the possibility of repairing the situation. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got N, W, B, L, M, Y, B, V, Q, V, S, W, R, O, P, J, G, and K. So hopefully you can see those initials here, kind of a weird angle to hold these letter tiles up at, but hopefully you can see those. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn. There's a link to that channel in the description box of the video. The format over there at this point in time mostly consists of channeled message readings related to topics other than love and romance, although I'm still exploring what I want to do with that second channel, where else I want to branch out as far as readings are concerned. So there's probably more to come in the not too distant future as far as that is concerned. And I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Lepidolite. So I'm just going to be using oracle cards for this reading, and let's take a look at that question. For those of you in a no contact situation, is the person on your mind going to reach out, open those lines of communication, get the ball rolling for reconciliation, or has your story with one another in this lifetime reached a conclusion, the end of the road? Okay, we have Stag Spirit, take the lead. Flamingo Spirit, embrace the in-between. Elephant Spirit, learn from the past. Turkey Spirit, give with gratitude and grace. Groundhog Spirit, time to let go. And Porcupine Spirit, time for a beginner's mind. So these energies of the Groundhog Spirit and the Porcupine Spirit, letting go in a beginner's mind. This is somebody who wants to let bygones be bygones, who is ready to create some kind of bridge between where your paths have deviated from one another towards a different future, towards getting back on track with one another. It feels to be something where there's an understanding that there's a lot of hurt feelings on both sides in this equation. And so moving towards you is a delicate matter, both in terms of for your benefit and for themselves. They are all too aware of triggers and wounds and fears that had surfaced in the past in this situation, that it feels like maybe very complex, very deeply ingrained, things rooting back to childhood or early experiences in love, that they feel it almost, it's an essence of sort of like they understand to a certain degree the nature or genesis of these things, but it's still something that feels very daunting. The prospect of, I don't want to build this with you again in order to watch it all wash away. I don't want to move towards you only to get startled or spooked once again based on the nature and intensity of my feelings or the experiences between us or misunderstandings that kind of allowed things to unravel in the past or tendencies towards self-sabotage. They don't feel to be totally in a place of empowerment where they have successfully kind of vanquished or mastered these shadows within, yet they are incredibly compelled in your direction, not wanting to waste any more time, it feels like, and almost in a sense of they may have held themselves back up to this point in time due to hurt feelings, but also due to a sense of like, you deserve a better version of me than what you were exposed to or what you experienced in the past. And it feels to be something that this flamingo spirit, they're almost dancing between the idea about, should I give this situation more time? Should I give myself more time to kind of cool off or gain some kind of perspective or rise beyond the obstacles in the past? Or is time of the essence and I need to take that leap of faith forward because this healing journey or whatever it is they've discovered about themselves, they've only been so successful or moderately successful in kind of getting a handle on this or breaking free of these patterns. And there's an urge or a sense of part of the healing, almost like the next step or the next chapter in this phase of breaking free of these patterns within themselves or healing the wounds within. They've done as much as they can in a solitary sense, and it involves co-creation or collaboration or cooperation with you. So it's a sense of almost kind of having freed themselves from some perception of being almost sort of stuck in a cycle of healing, or the essence of, I need to keep stepping into that better version of me before I feel good enough to kind of give something to you. It feels like they've reached sort of a plateau with that, where they're seeing the bigger picture, that whatever the issue was, whatever was stirred forth, whatever was triggered, whatever these hurt feelings have kind of illuminated within themselves in terms of issues and aspects that they need to own, that they need to work on. It feels like they've crossed some kind of threshold where they understand we can still rebuild this situation. We can still experience abundance with each other and kind of grow and heal and mend this situation while concurrently kind of working on that internal landscape. Whatever healing work needs to be done, it's not a this or that. It's not once I reach some phase of completion with what I need to break free from and heal, then I'll be fully kind of ready and of a higher value, a higher quality of person, because I've done that work within to be able to offer something substantial to the situation. There's a sense of almost, I want to rebuild the bridge and the bond between the two of us while still working on myself as an individual. So it feels like they're very much gearing up to take the lead in this situation, take a leap of faith forward, move towards you almost with kind of, it's almost like a dualistic conversation with these kind of antlers here on the stag. It's a sense of, I'm still in the process of finding myself. I'm still in the process of kind of working through a lot of the complexities and the mysteries and the frustrations of what I've discovered during our time apart. But I don't want to let the opportunity of salvaging something in this situation, building toward a better tomorrow, I don't want to let that slip by, because I understand that sort of the journey that I'm on a personal level, it's something long term. It's something that, you know, they may be looking at this as like patterns that it will take a lifetime to continue to course correct and to continue to revisit and continue to make that kind of vow and promise to themselves and honor that, to do better, to change, to not sort of fall back into old habits and patterns. So they've transcended some sort of rut. It feels like that has kept them at a distance of almost like an over perfectionism, something that they may have taken very personally, very to heart, pride that was wounded, ego that was wounded. And so they almost, it feels like, have been sort of pouting in a corner, but very determined, like, I'll show this person, I'll break free from these patterns. It's been like a healthy motivation for them. Whatever's fallen apart in the situation, the hurt feelings have actually led to a place of turning this hurt into some kind of medicine for themselves, for longer standing aspects and issues. And it feels again like they've crossed some sort of threshold about, we don't need to wait. This situation doesn't need to wait, or doesn't benefit by me continuing to keep things on hold on my end while I'm still in the process of kind of sifting through and sorting through what I need to work on. And so it's a motivation to kind of present themselves with this essence of, I'm not entirely satisfied with this version of me that I have become. I am different. I have taken steps. I've taken measures to kind of evolve beyond, or to seek to come to a deeper place of understanding in terms of the person you were dealing with previously, who I was, the space I was occupying in my life, or even in conjunction to, you know, my relationship with self. I've transcended a lot of things, but don't think by any kind of means that this is sort of the final version, the final product. It's almost like an invitation to embark on a process of healing your connection with one another, with the understanding of they are very heavily invested in kind of like healing or breaking free of patterns from the past, childhood wounds, deeply ingrained patterns in love and romance, but they're recognizing you as like a key component that helps to make the intention of change real. If they can take these tools that they have learned, or these aha moments and epiphanies and discoveries that have been uncovered within, and if they can use that in a very practical sense to create change in this situation, then there's a part of them that feels that through that process, they almost create a new habit. They create a new pattern for themselves. They create a new way of relating to their life, to emotions, to you, to this situation. So it's almost like a win-win kind of energy. We can both benefit from this circumstance, from a decision on my part to move back towards you with a willingness or an interest or a motivation to try and pick up the pieces, to try and sort of smooth out the ruffled feathers or heal any kind of wounds, any sort of hurt feelings. But there's a sense of almost personal empowerment of them. Really, it feels like perhaps even openly sort of owning the need for them to still really have individual time for themselves, because it feels like they've really they've taken a shine to or a liking to some sort of process of bettering themselves. They actually are experiencing improvements with this. They may have come through some kind of personal darkness, dark night of the soul. They're out on the other side. They're feeling better. They're looking better. Their energy's better. Things are improving. And it's enough that it's created almost like a base or a foundation where now they're at a place of confidence of, I have something to offer, and it is this kind of ongoing process of personal improvement. I feel that this version of me is better equipped to kind of meet you at your level so that we can start to repair what has been torn asunder between the two of us. But again, also this essence of kind of a conversation which brings with it, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but you know, the essence of sort of like, I still need this time and space because I'm on a pilgrimage, I'm on a quest within myself, I'm on a journey to reach a level of, I like who I see when I look in the mirror. I look back on my life and I'm okay with the choices that I've made. Closed doors, windows of opportunity that were not kind of seized or capitalized upon. I'm putting all of that to rest. I'm recognizing my fears. I'm owning those things. I'm trying to take steps in another direction. Like, this has taken precedence for them, a personal growth and kind of development journey for themselves. So it feels to be almost a more empowered or even a more flexible version of this person, rather than just my way or the highway, very set in their ways, very kind of rooted to their traumas and their wounds as far as emotions are concerned. There's almost a sense of sort of like they've broken free of something, or they've grown beyond something. They've kind of taken back control of their life in a certain manner and have now reached a place of sort of like, I feel ready to start to rebuild between the two of us, but I also am prioritizing, and this may really align with kind of where you're at on your journey. So this may represent that you two are actually very in sync with one another, that prioritizing that kind of need for self-love and self-care, and sort of, you know, dealing with uncomfortable aspects of the shadow, or, you know, your past experiences in life and love, just whatever you've been focusing on. It's a sense of almost the two of you are walking these parallel paths at this point, and they're ready to conjunct with you to sort of continue along these individual journeys of growth. And at the same point in time, it feels like to try and crack open the seeds of potential between the two of you, and sort of armed with this knowledge of what has gone wrong in the past between you, what you've each discovered in terms of, you know, your role, your responsibility in situations, ways in which you work to forgive yourself, or kind of course correct, or sort of build beyond that, really kind of nurture and filling your own cup. There's a sense of, we each now have these kind of newly fashioned, newly honed, or strengthened skills to self-sustain that could be very beneficial to rebuilding a bond between the two of us romantically, and also kind of being a very good support system to one another at this point in our journeys, and moving forward through these kind of individual endeavors towards self-improvement and growth. So, get a few more oracle cards to dive in a little bit deeper into this question. Are they going to reach out? And do they intend on kind of creating forward movement in this situation? And then I'll get some message cards from their higher self. Okay, so we have success, relaxation, and simplicity. So this energies of simplicity and relaxation is definitely an essence of wanting to start from scratch, wanting to start from square one, but armed with kind of this higher level of knowledge of some degree of self-awareness and work that has happened within during your period of separation with one another, so that you're able to kind of follow and go with the flow of a current which carries you beyond the limitations or the lack that was experienced in this connection in the past. There's a sense here of understanding that there will be challenges ahead in this situation, that it's unknown territory, because as the two of you were relating to one another previously, certainly specifically with the individual that you're watching this reading for, they are in the process of kind of doing that work to self-soothe and heal, exploring patterns of wounding within themselves. Their changes may be sort of slow and steady progress, a lot happening on that internal landscape, a lot that they're kind of just keeping to themselves. It's almost like an observer energy, maybe even a lot that they're sort of reading, learning about in terms of wounding, attachment styles, maybe even, soul connections, things related to this situation between the two of you. And kind of armed with knowledge, they are reaching a place of personal empowerment where they're feeling a little less overwhelmed by the nature of the situation or the nature of their emotions. But there's still this understanding that it'll be tedious because they already have sparked an interest in, or they're getting a lot of positive results and positive feedback, maybe even from people around them who are noticing positive changes through this willingness to start to go inside and explore the shadow, explore the wounds. And it's having a very positive ripple effect to where they're almost like hooked on this journey of creating abundance and prosperity for themselves through generating that within first and foremost, and watching that kind of ripple out into their material reality. But then there's also this challenge of kind of how much of themselves they devote to that. A lot of quiet time, a lot of introspection that may just be a theme for them at this point in their life or at their in their journey, and wanting to make sure that there's still enough time to be able to invest in, sort of clearing through the debris of what has happened in this situation, the hurt feelings, the misunderstandings, the ways in which the two of you weren't in alignment in the past. With the slow and steady progress, that feels to be something that they will want to bring into any kind of communication that resumes between the two of you. So for a lot of you, this isn't going to be, that full purge of like the heartfelt declaration and all the words they never spoke before. But it is a turning of the page in terms of a lot more clarity, a lot more concise communication, consistent communication, a desire to clear the air, but to do it almost in a soft or gradual way. Very mindful of kind of the triggers and the fears, and not wanting to step on almost like a landmine within either of you or both of you, emotionally speaking, that kind of puts you right back in this position of, two people with this kind of desire to mend the situation, but hurt feelings or pride and ego kind of keeping both at a distance. So there's a sense of, we can get through this. I am motivated to pick up the pieces and begin again. But it's going to take work. It's going to take patience. And it's something that I'm willing to kind of explore and be very flexible and very courageous about the ways in which I make space. I make room. I take the time to kind of show you consistency and effort, while I'm also continuing to invest within myself in this process of kind of working through fears and finding a sense of personal empowerment in aspects of themselves that previously had been overlooked or denied, that were serving as a source of disempowerment or obstacles, or had interfered or sort of undermined the integrity and value of what you've shared with one another in the past. So it feels definitely for a lot of you, communication is definitely on the horizon, likely on the horizon. Even kind of me repeating that word definitely twice, they're very determined to say something, to do something in this situation. And it feels to be something that kind of, they may have already a predetermined juncture. They have something mapped out, a plan of action. Maybe it's a special occasion that's coming up, some point in time when, they would have a window of opportunity to reach out, like a birthday, an anniversary, some kind of holiday, something where they know they may encounter you or be in near proximity to you, and kind of not wanting that window of opportunity to pass them by, or even just a process of sort of, finding a way to kind of create some space within themselves and within their life to be able to have a component or a quadrant of them, their time in the day, their emotional capacity, energetically speaking, to be able to invest in kind of this slow progression of acclimating yourselves to one another again. Delicate or tedious conversations that may need to take place, that kind of tiptoes around hurt feelings, but addresses those things in a way in which you're both able to kind of face the music in the situation, so to speak, and to really sort of see that through without the impulse to kind of run being acted upon. There's a sense of almost wanting to make sure that they can really just sit there through what may need to be, you giving them a piece of your mind, you really expressing to them the hurt feelings that you've had through whatever has occurred. There's a sense of in the past that they had really avoided that. instilling some sort of hurt and then avoiding responsibility for that, not wanting to see the pain and discomfort that they caused in your eyes or in your voice or in the words that you've spoken, and so they've chosen to remain aloof and at a distance. So it's taking a lot of courage on their part to kind of build up to the point where they're able to move towards you with the knowingness of like, I want to turn the page in this situation. I understand we're going to have to kind of walk through some dicey territory with one another. It may hurt, it may sting a little bit, but I'm willing to kind of continue to show up in a way that it feels safe and comfortable for the two of us as we kind of map out and chart out a new course for us beyond what has happened, and also in keeping with sort of patterns that they are implementing within themselves, new kind of coping mechanisms, new strategies, any kind of life change or just a change in perspective where they're soaking a lot in about themselves. They're an observer energy right now in terms of that internal landscape, wanting to continue along that path and progression so that as they continue to grow and develop into kind of a stronger, more self-assured, more self-accepting version of them, that there's already some kind of process of laying a new foundation between the two of you, are clearing the air, which they've commenced. So it's again that kind of dualistic conversation. I want to work to rebuild this, but I'm also really prioritizing the work that I have already invested in myself and kind of a chosen path or something that I'm really sort of looking at to improve so that I'm better for me, and then that better version of me in turn is able to participate with you more in a concise and consistent manner. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self right now. Okay, and they say, no matter who is in my life, you are the only one who stays in my heart. So they have not been able to forget you, not been able to replace you. If this is somebody who has tried to date other people or has tried to, avoid this desire to clean up the situation, make matters right, maybe distracting themselves with a healing journey, distracting themselves with work, distracting themselves with, any kind of number of excuses of things that would sort of avoid that pain and longing within. There's a sense of always being drawn back to you, wanting to make matters right in this situation, understanding on some level that breakthroughs that they've had for themselves, ways in which they feel more self-aware, stronger within themselves, that there's the ability to kind of heighten or pivot that into the next level of experience or essence or energy within themselves through kind of like using these new coping mechanisms and strategies to show up differently in the situation with you, or to repair the situation with you, where maybe in the past this person was just keen on burning bridges and kind of never looking back. They keep being drawn back to what has happened with you. They can't get you out of their mind. They can't shake the idea of, I want to continue along this new path that I've kind of carved out for myself, but I want you here by my side as I'm kind of growing and exploring this as well. They also say, I have everything I want except for you. So a lot of clarity that has come to them about the importance of this connection, the meaning in their life of you, a transformative process that they have gone through after having experienced you, after having been in a connection with you, in the aftermath of a no contact situation. A lot of shifting and changing for this person in terms of that internal landscape. Their priorities have changed. There's a lot more clarity. There's a lot less of a desire to kind of run away from responsibilities, run away from themselves, run away from deep and abiding love and connection with another person. So again, as they're growing into a version of themselves that is more able to sustain with equal give and take that higher vibration of love, there's an essence of, I want you to be the person that kind of this newly awakened or freshly birthed or still in the process of being created version of me is able to sort of share what I am capable of emotionally that was denied to you in the past, or that I wasn't able to give, or didn't recognize that I had it within me to sort of sit very comfortably in that kind of a flow and exchange. They also say, I talk to someone close about you. So they may be getting advice from others as far as how to proceed in the situation. If it's the right time. For some, this is going to be something where they've drafted out some kind of declaration for you in a sense, and they're kind of like having people read that, having people proofread that. There may be somebody or people close to them that are aware of some other kind of like a healing journey that they're on, some other process of kind of moving beyond limitations within self. And these people may have rightly sort of instructed or mentored your person, kind of wait until you reach a little more stability with this new kind of version of you until you're bringing something new into your world and into your reality, until you're adding almost kind of more to deal with, more to sort of look at, more to have to try to fix or repair or heal or grow. There's an essence of almost letting the changes within them or that they have desired to undertake to crystallize in a certain way, so that what they're able to kind of bring forth to you has meaning, has value, is sustainable, because they've cemented that within themselves first and foremost. So this can even talk about like if addiction was a factor in this situation in the past, and this person may be in recovery at this point in time. They may be clean and sober. They may only have a relatively speaking kind of short amount of time of sobriety. And this could be something where people in a support group or people close to them, family and friends, may be encouraging them to sort of get some more time under their belt, allow this kind of new version of them, this new reality, to become a little more of the regular version of them, or like a reality that they become a little more accustomed to. Maybe even some sort of milestone event in terms of, sobriety, or even just kind of breaking free of other sort of patterns and beliefs and habits in their life, so that they're able to present something to you that says, this is the milestone. This is what I've been working toward. This is me comfortable in this new version of myself, and now I want to try to pick up the pieces with you. Now I'm ready to kind of add this other element of sort of reclaiming my life, or repairing the broken bits, repairing what has fallen apart between the two of us. So it feels to be a lot that is not necessarily fear or uncertainty that's holding them back, but some sort of an essence of, I want to be able to bring you something measurable, but also kind of managing those expectations that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be that final product. Progress is better than kind of whatever the situation was with them or between the two of you in the past. They also say, I want to do everything I didn't do before. So they are very motivated to show you a different face of love than what had been demonstrated in this circumstance in the past. This is all in conjunction with like a new version of them that is coming forth out of something that has been shed, something that has been allowed to be unleashed in a very positive way from within. Motivation to change, motivation to heal some aspects of their life, motivation to kind of take control of their life again. Has all led to this point of wanting to be the version of them that you deserved right from the start, to share with you this newness that they've cultivated within, when their heart sort of thinks of, sharing itself with another, or experiencing those kind of, vibrations and sort of the currents, the spectrum of love. Their thoughts and attention keep being drawn back to you, something that was left behind in the past, an unfinished symphony between the two of you that they're wanting to really kind of pick up where you've left off, smooth out any rough edges between you, and work forward toward more harmony, more congruency between you. And they also say, you don't know it yet, but I'm planning to surprise you. So there's that confirmation that for a lot of you, this person is gearing up to take action, readying themselves to present themselves to you, have that conversation, deliver that apology, open those lines of communication, resume a role in your life, become more of an active participant in your life. If you have some sporadic contact, or you have during your period of separation with one another, there's an essence of, I really want to impress you. I really want to show you kind of what I've done, or what I'm embarked upon, what I'm investing myself in, where my priorities exist at this particular point in time as something very different from where they were before. So that you feel safe, so that you feel comfortable, so that you know that your heart, where in the past it might have been kind of uncertain if it was truly safe in my hands. I want to show you that I have changed, and if you will give this love another chance, then this is a safe space where something new, something more, something beautiful can develop and thrive between us. So Get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got A, P, C, C, V, U, M, Z, Q, L, B, D, M, Y, W, N, H, U, G, J, and R. So hopefully you can see those in this little dish that is kind of awkward and weird to try to hold up at this angle on camera, but hopefully that's a sufficient view of these initial tiles. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn. There's a link to that channel in the description box of the video as well. And the format over there at this point in time is mostly channeled message readings related to topics other than love and romance. Still kind of figuring out where I want to take that channel, the content that I want to put on there. So there will probably be developments beyond those channeled message readings in the not too distant future if you're interested in checking that out. And I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.